Hello and welcome to Raider HQ After Dark. I'm your host, Raider. And in this video, what I wanted to do is I wanted to go back and address the audience questions from the 10/8/2025 live stream. And I just kind of want to go through them and try to answer them to the best of my ability. Now, I understand that these are going to be static questions that I might get wrong. And if I do, then correct me in the comments or come to the next live stream and we'll try to sort it out. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Oops, I don't know how that got there, but hold on. Let me just change my thing here to where you guys can see it, hopefully. Okay, so I did not organize this. I would like to do a shout out to Deek792. They organized all these questions for me. So please, if you can, leave a comment thanking Deek for doing this, because I honestly don't have time. So, and I am sorry for that, but this is kind of a full time job. So, Darius C. Can CMP examiners diagnose you for things you didn't claim? I had an exam for PES and was also diagnosed with hammer toe. Will these be added into my rating decision? Okay. So, Darius, the answer to this is yes. Examiners are recommended to anything that they see they're supposed that they can do a diagnosis for, they're supposed to do. Now, if the examiner was not given specific instructions, like if they were, we'll just keep it in the feet. So pes planus was what they were given a decision for, right? Or sorry, an exam request for. So a medical opinion is exclusive to the pes planus. So if the examiner also diagnoses hammer toe, the problem is that there's no medical opinion that was solicited. And I'm going to upfront tell you, examiners by trade are some of the laziest people in terms of not wanting to do any more than what they have been paid to do. There is no more for your money type situation. They every once in a while, an examiner that is overzealous and probably new will do an additional medical opinion for like the hammer toe in this example. But no, that doesn't happen. So the way the process works is that um, the actual uh, the examiner will do the medical opinion for the pes planus, and then it's up to the rater once they get it to go, I wonder if the hammer toes within the scope. So what would happen in this instance is the rater would look back and see if hammer toe is something that can be, if it's within the scope, if there was also treatment for it, can it be separately granted? There's a lot of questions the rater has to weigh. And if they find that, yes, I think that we could swing potentially granting hammer toe, then they will defer hammer toe back and actually do a medical opinion for it if there's enough evidence. They will, what we call, raise hammer toe to issue. And this is not exclusive to the feet for everyone. So the rater can do that in any situation. Where I see it happen a lot, heart conditions, right? Where the especially if like the thing that's diagnosed is a presumptive condition, the rater will happily raise that to issue and grant it separately. You see it a lot of the times with scars, like if the veteran gets service connected for their back condition and they actually had a surgery on their back and it gets service connected, then the scar gets raised to issue and it gets granted at 0%. So that's hopefully the answer to that question, Darius. And I'm going to try to do as many of these as I can, and I will log where I stop, and then I'll just keep doing videos on this and putting them out periodically in addition to other content. Today, this is probably going to be my video because I'm going to be heading out of town tomorrow. So, Dustin Smith, can you explain combined rating for like sleep apnea and asthma? Does it help the overall rating? So for sleep apnea, what you're dealing with is you're dealing with 38 CFR 4.96, I want to say. Hold on just a second. So through the power of editing magic, yes, I am here. So 4.96 is the provision about respiratory conditions that have to be combined together. So, what we're looking at here is we're looking at sleep apnea and asthma both fall within this spectrum of conditions. I want to say right here. And because of that, they have to be combined and merged into one single condition. Now, there can be value added to doing sleep apnea and asthma together because they don't share the same rating percentages. So, what can happen is we have to combine things together like this under 38 CFR 4.7, with the higher of the two evaluations being the primary condition. And we have to do this because it's pyramiding. Even though they don't have the same, disease process or mechanisms, for whatever reason, the VA has determined that this would be pyramiding to separately grant them and give you two separate percentages for it. So, what happens is it can help the overall rating because they share the same 30% rating. So, there's no real advantage at the 30% or the 10%. But once you get into the ratings above that, sleep apnea, if you have a CPAP, can take you to 50. Asthma itself can take you to 60. So, it doesn't seem like a very big difference, but the 50 and 60 percentile range, you can actually, there is value added to having sleep apnea and asthma service connected because you can potentially flip flop whichever one's the primary and get a higher overall percentage. Very niche situation, but yeah, I mean, technically, I've seen it be the difference between 90 and 100% by them having asthma service connected at 60 rather than the sleep apnea at 50. So, Hunter Evans, hello, Raider. I like that. That's the AI right there. It also does that whenever it says Raider because I guess I kind of mumble my words a little bit in the translation for the um, yeah, the CCs. I what is it called? Closed captions. That's what I'm looking for. Oh my gosh, I lost my mind. Diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder. De- I stated my stressor from deployment and was told I don't have PTSD because I don't have flashbacks and I can't remember my dreams. Do I still claim? Okay, so this is going to be a problem. PTSD due to fear based, you have to have the diagnosis of PTSD, Hunter. You just have to. There is a way that if you have a different diagnosis other than PTSD, you would have to have a specific stressor that can be confirmed in country. So, like you witness somebody being beheaded, like something weird that would have to be very specific but very provable. It couldn't be that you took indirect fire, it couldn't be anything like that. Um, a potential pivot point here that I have sometimes wished that people would do is if you have generalized anxiety disorder, could it be due to a different cause? Could you have generalized anxiety disorder due to your physical disabilities and, potentially having fear of being injured, having depression from chronic pain, whatever it is? I might not try for this. It honestly depends on the symptom. Like if you have a specific stressor that you can cite in service that is easily verifiable, then if so, yes, go with PTSD claimed for fear-based or go for generalized anxiety disorder due to fear-based. However, unknown. For non-combat PTSD claim, plane crash that I was involved in while working on the flight line that involved burned, injured bodies. What are the requirements for a rater to approve the claim? So, unknown, this is a very good question for stressor development. So, what would be required for the VSR and the rater? So, there's going to be a review that happens. The VSR is going to be reviewing the majority of this to determine whether or not they can find the stressor. So, the thing that you would need for this is you would need to, number one, know who burned and who died. You're saying flight line, so I assume it's on like an aircraft carrier or something like that. So location, of the deaths, the dates and times of the deaths, and the fact that you had orders to be at that location. That's all you typically need. Because what happens is for these types of stressor confirmations, what happens is that the VA sends off to the DoD to review not your personal records, but the actual ship's records or the base's records to show whether or not a plane crash happened. There's also a program called OMAR that has a list of all service members who died and at the location. So if you know the names of the individuals, that helps kind of bolster your stressor statement to say, hey, look, I was there at that time. So I experienced that stressor. But that's how I do it. It's like a game of Clue. Colonel Mustard in the billiard room with the candlestick. That's how you have to format your evidence for non-combat stressors. Where did it happen? Who did it happen to? How can you prove that you were there at that time, that you experienced that? So yeah, I hope that answers your question, unknown. Bad ProMaster. Dear Raider, I got granted for TBI at 0% under my 100% PTSD. VSA also tacked on vertigo and surmised with multiple etiologies. I'm grateful. However, how far does this go adding everything to PTSD? Okay, bad ProMaster. I'm going to tell you right now that 100% PTSD, you rode in on a unicorn. So they gave you the 100% PTSD in a lieu of certain things. So if you believe that I personally wouldn't touch this. Now, you do have one additional benefit based upon the nature of your PTSD being 100%. You could, if you are not already service connected for this, you could service connect SMC S1, special monthly compensation housebound status, statutory housebound status. And what happens with this is if you have separate disabilities that add up to 60% on their own, you can get that additional benefit, which is like, I think, 400 extra bucks a month or something like that. So if your fact pattern is that you only have PTSD service connected right now, it might behoove you to claim other things that have nothing to do with TBI and have nothing to do with PTSD in order to meet the criteria to get special monthly compensation S1 housebound statutory status. And if you claim things that are unrelated to PTSD and unrelated to TBI, they shouldn't have any kind of effect on your PTSD rating. Now, how could they? If you go in saying, hey, look, I've got migraines that are secondary to my ever increasing PTSD, that might bring PTSD to issue. Even though on paper it shouldn't. The VSR should go, okay, I shouldn't order an exam because there's nowhere else for PTSD to go. It's 100%. But some of the VSRs are chasing points and they will order a PTSD increase exam even though you're already at 100%. So you have to be careful how you word things that are secondary to the PTSD. It would behoove you to say, I have sleep apnea secondary to my PTSD. Anytime that you're claiming something secondary to your PTSD, it's also a good idea to maybe throw in a VA Form 21-4138 and say, hey, look, I'm claiming all of these due to my PTSD. However, it is important to note that my PTSD symptoms have not changed. If this is true, I need to make that disclaimer. If this is true, that my PTSD symptoms have not changed since my last examination, they continue to be the same level of severity. The reason why you want to do that is to discourage somebody from ordering you an increase exam for 100% condition. I hope that helps. And I know that these are long-winded, guys, but this is about like the level of detail that they need to be given to answer them correctly. So I'm going to only probably get to 20 of these today, and then I'll just keep making videos. And what I'll probably do is I'll probably put out this video today and schedule additional videos later on. So I'll just keep going on this and just chunk up my videos. So, Darius C. Can I submit another claim for conditions during my BDD window, even though I've already submitted an initial claim? The answer would be yes, and it would depend on where you're at in the window. If you're less than, I want to say, the 90 days, then we'll add those conditions to your claim. Like they'll be added to your primary claim, but there's a chance that they won't get exams until after you've discharged. So it would behoove you for anything that you're claiming on that supplemental claim, or well, I should say consecutive claim, or whatever the next claim. The thing that you want to do is receive treatment for those conditions. You need to establish element 2 for anything that you're going to claim that's not part of your current BDD. You need to get treatment for those things to get a diagnosis in service. That would help you, Darius C., immensely. Filed for TDIU, had CMP exams on VES, called yesterday, and I have another CMP tomorrow. Is it vocational or clarification? So for TDIU, if you have another examination, then okay, I'm going to give you a couple scenarios on this. If you had a primary claim and then you subsequently filed TDIU after you had that initial claim open, then that could be due to the vocational review. However, if you had new exams that were done, I'm going to make a guess here. I guess that the first set of exams that were done did not include the economic impact assessment. So what happened was we did the exams, we finished the exams, and then the rater got a hold of it and said, well, wait a minute, you forgot all this stuff. So then the rater deferred it back, either doing the exam correction themselves or having the VSR do it. Now, if the VSR did it, read the deferral and said, hey, look, we need new exams to include the economic impact assessment. What probably happened was the VSR, rather than doing a clarification, they just ordered new exams for more points and did the economic impact assessment with the new exams and just ordered them through VES. It is dark times, people, in the VA. Like the training level, the just why the motivation for why people are doing things is weird. It is hardly to pin down what this could be. It could be either both vocational and a clarification. It could be one or the other. There's no hard fast rule for this. I just guess that somebody's doing, somebody messed up clearly, and then somebody is doing things hashtag because. So I hope that answers that question. Keith B. Is it normal to only have one DBQ ordered out of 5 different disabilities? In this case, back DBQ is ordered, but nothing for mental health or migraines. So what happens, Keith, is that the VSR is the first one to touch your claim, and they do an assessment. It's like a micro assessment kind of thing where they review what I like to call the elements for service connection. And depending on how you claimed it, will dictate what the elements translate to. I mean, element 1 is always a current diagnosis and or symptom. Element 2 for direct service connection is some kind of in-service treatment, disease, disorder, something in service STRs for direct theory. So what happens is if you only received one exam out of 5, then that means that the VSR, while doing their review, they did not find all 3 elements to warrant you getting an exam. So you were missing something. Now, that's a premise. You could be missing nothing, and the VSR just was top sheeting and didn't realize that you were claiming it secondary to something else, and that they're just doing their own thing in their head. So keep in mind, when I say that, I'm just saying that for whatever reason, right, wrong, or indifferent, they didn't find one of the elements needed in order to warrant you getting an exam. So that means that those 4 other things are going to be denied. Unless There might be a case for presumption, but even then you want a DBQ for presumption. I mean, the only exclusion could be hypertension if it's presumption, because if we have enough like blood pressure readings in your medical records, then we don't need to send you for an examination. Or if it's cancer, like active cancer, and we can prove that there's active cancer, there's no need to send you for an examination for that. So those are two instances in which not getting a DBQ for presumptive reasons would be fine. But everything else, it's not a good thing to receive one out of five different disabilities. And then the 10th one, Samps. Um, are there other things going on at the VA in addition to the shutdown? I mean, just straight training. I got to choose my words carefully here. The the government shutdown has multifacets to it. So all of QRT for the most part is furloughed. So the individuals that VSRs and raiders normally go to have their questions answered by somebody who is air quotes supposed to be subject matter experts on the manual, and they're supposed to do quality reviews on the VSRs and the raters and the authorizers, and they're also supposed to be available to answer questions and weigh in on things. Those people are gone currently. So it is just straight. I'm trying to pick a word here that is not deeply offensive. I do not want to be canceled. Um, special? So all the special people have been left. The inmates are running the asylum currently, and I'm not saying that QRT themselves are QRT themselves give me an ulcer just because I've never seen somebody. Actually, hold on. You guys ever seen a lieutenant be in charge of something, like anything? Just a butter bar lieutenant in charge of something. QRT is like a butter bar. They have education. They've got no practical experience typically, where they've never done the job before. Somehow they're the cousin of somebody else, and they got promoted, fast tracked, whatever. I mean, a lot of these people are related to each other. It's just a fact. I mean, the family tree at the RO is destroying my soul. And they don't like they don't they get to interpret how the manual is, so they just drive me insane. Because oftentimes their interpretations are about how they feel about things, which is the worst thing that you as any kind of veteran should have happen. There should be a neutral interpretation based upon the words used in the regulation and not how they want to spin it. And I'm like, they're like, no, it means this. I'm like, none of those words were ever listed in that CFR. What are you talking about? I mean, QRT makes me want to do random drug tests at the RO. Like literally, like just random drug tests. Like I'm just like, are you high? What is wrong with you? Did you fall down the stairs? Guys, QRT gets me so sideways. Because I've never met a group of people that want to just delay claims for no reason. They're like, "Oh, you forgot to do this." Okay, but will it affect anything? No, but you still have to do what I say because I said it. Because I have a power trip. I was beaten up as a child. Whatever's going on with QRT, I don't know. But so they're not there right now. So you might think, "Oh man, that's good." So the people that have the special people aren't there. Well, okay, but the more special people that rely on the special people to tell them what to do, which is oftentimes wrong. Oh my gosh. Like, little story since we're just talking here. I one time I got a quality error because I did what QRT told me to do. And then I got another quality error for not doing what the QRT told me to do on the exact same claim. That's the level of competency that the RO is currently struggling with, is that two different individuals could have completely drastically different opinions about something and they're both right. And I mean, I finally just freaked out a little bit because that's in my nature of my anxiety disorder. I lost my collective S on my coach and just went, you know what? You're going to figure this out. You're going to get them in a room, and I'm not going to be in that room, but you're going to figure this out. You're going to get them to where it's mutually exclusive. Both cannot be true at the same time. You can't tell me to do the thing that he gave me the error on and then not do the thing that I'm going to have a stroke. So they sorted it out. They just expunged the error and all that stuff. And then the same people that were wrong, both of them were actually collectively wrong. Nothing happened to them. So I know, like, the government shutdown has two different things going on, in that the confidence level of the raters and the VSRs and the authorizers is down because they don't have the fallback to ask people who shouldn't have this job, shouldn't have an opinion on the legal side of it, because the majority of them have zero. I wouldn't let them watch my dogs. I sometimes question how they feed themselves. Okay. And this is the level of frustration, because you know what? As a veteran myself, I look and go, you know what? We should be promoting the best of the best. The best of the best should be getting promoted, not somebody's cousin, not somebody's sister, brother, husband. The best of the best. People who are good at the job, people who can mentor, people who can whatever. And it sounds weird, because could I have been a QRT liaison? Yes. But and you might think, well, you would have been good at it. You could have made positive change. No. Because what they do as a collective source is they don't go, because if they for QRT, if you disagree with each other, then that you can get your peer an error. So they do this buddy buddy thing to where it's like, oh, did Jim do that? Okay, I wouldn't do that, but I'm not going to disagree with Jim, because if I disagree with Jim and Jim gets an error, then Jim can just turn around and give me an error for, he can disagree with me in the future. But if we all agree, then nobody gets an error. I hate the quality system so much. It is such a dog and pony show about nothing. Like, how many times has QRT stepped in to save the day? Rarely. I would lowball it to less than 20% of the time that they're calling CUEs and whatever they're calling differences of opinion and all this stuff. It's just busy work. Hey, look, you forgot to send them a form that said that they had this, this, and this. Okay, well, I didn't need the form because of this manual reference right here. Oh, well, okay. And then I get them overturned. Like, God, I know that this isn't what we're talking about, but the government shutdown, it's a mixed bag on that. Like, it's a hot mess of nonsense to where it's just chaos currently. Because now you have people who have less knowledge, like the coaches, stepping in to do all this stuff, to be the people that are answering questions, even though they've never done the job before, which isn't much different than the QRT themselves. But I mean, at least there's the pretense there. There's the I can look and go, okay, you were actually hired for the job. So yeah, good luck, everyone. I don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and end this right here at the 10th question. And then I will go ahead and continue on in other videos and just put these out daily. So anyway, guys, thank you for watching. If you watched to the end of it, and I've got quite a few here. I mean, I've got 82 questions. So there might be 8 videos for this. So these are not going to take up too much of, these will be supplemental videos that if you want to watch. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe if you like and subscribe. So Raider out.